welcome, everybody. Let's see if the lag is fixed or not.
Should be good for now.
Otherwise, I should be okay. We can always try and restart it a little bit. Seems okay. Is it okay on your side?
Yeah, man. So far, so good. I like it.
Okay. Sweet. Welcome everybody to BeoTalk 275.
Damn.
Hopefully the warnings and stuff go away. We're just a bit nervous. God damn it, I was late and forgot to turn certain stuff off, and should be okay.
Am I muted?
No, you're not muted. You're working. At least it should be okay. Anyway, let me know if it's not okay. We can always restart or it's whatever. It's just 2 clicks and should be all right. As per usual, like, subscribe if you haven't done that already. If you want a guaranteed answer to your question and your topic, a super chat helps do that and also helps pay the bills. What else? Oh yeah, go to Skinny Play. And buy yourself something nice. I'll put that all in the chat. And I'm behind on things.
What are you behind on?
Spamming links and that sort of thing.
Oh yeah. Well, you do your thing then. I'll wait.
No rush.
We'll all wait. There we go. No rush. So
how was your week?
It was pretty interesting. I went on an install, which it was a renovation in a house. I've never had an instance where I would cut the ceiling speakers in with a Sawzall. Fucking just savagery, because they're refinishing the ceiling, but the ceiling is done from that old. It's a house that has chicken wire lattice and it's this thick.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, it was a disaster. And I managed to poke myself in the inside of the finger right in the crease.
Yeah.
With that wire, and I didn't think of it much. I don't know if some part of it broke off in my finger. It's been, because we did that job on Tuesday. It is fucking killing me, man. The finger is just killing me. So yeah, that was that. But other than that, not much. I think the most interesting install we've done a theater again with Bowers and Wilkins as rear ceiling speakers.
Okay.
Very impressed. Very impressed.
Do they come in a box, or is it open back?
No, they're open back, unfortunately. But I was very impressed. Downside, he had a tile ceiling, but a very nice tile ceiling. So there has to be, in my opinion, I think he needs to glue down or put a little a foam thing around those 2 tiles where the speakers are cut in, because they do dance, or weigh it down. I don't know what the option is with weighing it down on the tile with the weight, how that ceiling can handle, how much it can handle, right? I'd rather glue the tile in. Who cares? It's only one.
Mm-hmm.
And by the look of it, it's very modular. But yeah, dude, it killed. Fuck, did it ever kill? So
what's driving it?
BOAmp 2, and I cheated and I assigned them as a BeoVox 1s, because those are more capable than BeoVox 2s, really, if you think about it. So, and yeah, man, they just throb. They sound really good. Tuned it all, and yeah, I was very impressed by the sound of it. Obviously, there is a Lab 19 in the corner, but yeah, it helped. And I found the sweet spot is about 95 hertz for the BeoLab 19 to cross it over on the theater in the app under the bass management.
Sorry, what hertz?
95. Don't leave it at 120 if you have a BeoLab 19. Try it out. I'm not saying don't, it's don't put salt in your food, do whatever you want, dump a whole fucking shaker in it. But I found that 95 hertz on a larger room, and for some reason 90 hertz on a smaller room is the crossover point between how many 19s with the theater I had put in together. Also, always double check the distance, because they cannot figure out the theater for some reason does not have the godly ability to figure out how far the subwoofer is from the microphone in relation to it. It always doubles the distance still for me. Doubles, or it does it incorrectly by a meter or two. Not sure why. Yeah, it's very interesting, and that is still happening. So that there has been some silent improvements in the app that I noticed by just playing around with it in different installs and setting things up, and how the source selection changed a little bit. I just wish that if they do that, like, I'm subscribed to, allow notifications, right?
Yeah.
Why can we not have that as a notification? Okay, here, Beo people, this is what has changed in the app's operation. Poof, poof, poof.
There's a page for it, but I mean, I guess it's a lot better than bug fixes and stability.
Improvements. Yeah, fuck off. Like, that's a very, very, very generic term of what actually happened, if anything happened, or what went wrong, if anything, or something did go wrong for sure. They just seem to not hash it out properly. But yeah, otherwise, I was very impressed by it. The Bowers and Wilkins, definitely, because I've done a whole bunch of theaters with the Canton speakers as the in-ceiling ones. But I think the Bowers and Wilkins, even the way that they're constructed and how they plug in and everything else, is very, very well, nicely designed speaker. And I hope we sell more of those, because they do sound better than the Canton.
What's the price differential?
I honestly do not know. I don't look at that anymore. I have the gift of just putting it together and not giving a shit about how much people pay. So, and I like it. But they weren't cheaper than the Cantons, I can guarantee you that. But they're definitely not the price of the Celestials. Okay.
Yeah.
Because that's going full retard. But I love the grills. I can't deny that. I love the grills.
But that's mostly the grills, or is it also the speakers?
I think that the speakers have something to do with the B&O's tuning, like the ones you order, like Celestial, Palatials, whatever. I think there is something going on with that. But other than the grills, the grills are more or less half the price, or equal the price as the speaker is per speaker, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, you better have your gloves on when you're putting these on, in my opinion. And yeah, they're nice, but I think, I don't know, we don't really sell Celestials here because there are cheaper alternatives than going that way. And quite honestly, I understand the design factor of the ceiling speakers with the B&O. They're beautiful, but at the end of the day, I don't really see that many people looking up other than myself. If I go for an install or a service call into the house, I look up in the ceiling because I need to see if there is in-ceiling speakers. I'm sure your guests don't go around, first thing they do is just, count the pot lights and how many speakers you have in the kitchen. I don't think that happens.
No.
Unless it's just a, more or less an occupational disease. Yeah, or you have a buddy that is an electrician, so that's an occupational disease that he's going to come up there and look at all the pot lights and how they were put in, and if they're lined up and whatever, because that's just what you do naturally as a person, right? It's I guess the same as everybody that does whatever they do in their life when they see their counterpart on it, they don't have an ability not to comment, I guess. So
sorry, I'm being broadcast.
No worries.
Like she found that she could reach the box underneath the cabinet by going like underneath the door.
And there goes the toys. Out.
And then you get woken up by going because the other cats look at her.
It's fine. What's the standard BOC84? I don't understand what that is.
The
B&O Celestial. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah. Matthew says my dealer says BeoLab 8 sounds way better than the Celestials. I would consider saying that the 8s are very good competition to the 18s, and they probably will win by the default of the narrow and wide algorithm that they have as a gift of, I guess, modern technology versus the 18s. I decided, I know this is shameful to even admit, but I'm going to do it. I ordered 2 BeoLab 1 receivers, and I'm going to move my 18s because the winter's coming and the balcony is going to have a foot of or a meter of snow on it soon anyway, so I'm not going to be able to go out there anyhow. So I was debating to move my 18s as the front left and front right, and then dig up a pair of Madonna tits from my storage and hook them up as rear channels.
I still like these palatials a heck of a lot.
The square speakers.
Yeah, like you don't see them often, if at all.
You know what? If I were to do something like that, I don't think that I would go with the boring grill. Like you know, I would probably get something water transfer printed on it, like a piece of art. So
Hmm.
it looks like a picture frame, but it's actual perforated speaker grill. So yeah, Matthew, I saw the video as well, but and I definitely am on board with John as far as the 18s and the 8s. But then again, if you could consider the factor or form factor and the volume of the cabinet and all that stuff, like how much or how little does BeoLab 8 has going for itself within those departments versus a deep chassis of a or cabinet of a BeoLab 18? Because at the end of the day, like you know, not much of it. I think 1/3 of it is electronics, and the other is just a tube with a bass port in it and two bass drivers, because the tweeter now sits on top from compared to the 8000s. So yeah, but also Lab 18s are 11 years old tech.
Yeah,
So and only time will tell how much prettier the 18s are versus the 8s, because if there is a much more if they're selling a much more more pairs of 8s than the 18s, which I think that is the direction that this is going to go, I honestly think that within the next 3 to 5 years, I would see that the 18s would be either replaced by something in between them and the 28s, and something between well, more or less above the Lab 8, because Lab 8 is something that we've been crying for at least last 4 years on the podcast, or more or less since the 17s got AOL'd, that the B&O does need a bookshelf speakers in their portfolio.
yeah. I think these are quite good as bookshelf speakers go. I mean, in terms of flexibility, the 17s had probably not, but I, for where most people want to start, it's probably a better speaker than the 17 was.
I think the flexibility on this is much better than on the 17s. I just hope that there is a way that they tighten up that loosey goosey, even on John's video, how the
The
how
BeoLab
it's
Jiggle.
how the BeoLab a jiggle. I think that needs to unjiggle. They need to set either set screws or something, or design the wishbone some other way. But they need to do something with that, because if you have little kids, or not even little kids, man, it happens to all of us. Like especially if you have them as rear channels by the couch, there's gonna be a time where you just hip butt them at some point, or hip check them, right?
Yeah.
Like it's gonna happen, because it might be a party, might be something. You laugh hard. You bend down, poof, fuck, there goes the speaker. So I think that that's something that needs to be looked at, because like we were told that we were have the pre-production model, which they were, but I hope that they consider doing that wishbone thing, or anything for that matter, something in the back that actually holds it properly. Yeah, that's to me, that's unacceptable for B&O, in my opinion, because none of the speakers ever that I remember in their portfolio existence have ever done that.
No. Go watch John's video, though, straight after this.
Like the only ones that I could see that used to do that were BeoLab 3s on the floor stands, when people mucked around with them too much and they loosened the screws over time, and then they just became wiggly and jiggly. But you can come back there and tighten the stuff up and it was fine.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's
I mean, I guess you could with 17s a bit, but again, you could take that sticky top cap off and just retighten it.
these don't have the option. That's the problem. I don't think it's much of a bother when you have them on the ceiling or on the wall, because nobody's really going to touch them. But if they're mounted on the floor or table, I think that is a potential tippy thread that it's going to at some point come over and tip over. You can see the cat in the reflection.
She's literally bringing the toy home to my desk.
She forgot she's not a dog or what?
No, if you train your cats, they'll do that. They'll bring you their toys.
Right
Like,
on.
she quite literally, sometimes we leave a toy out in the living room just because, like, okay, we're done now, right? And like half an hour later, she'll drag the whole thing to you, like, eh.
Yeah, I wish I had your time, brother.
Well, I don't, but she has the energy.
To make you have the time. How's
Yeah.
your reno going, by the way?
Well, good news in a sense that what you call it, like, remember the whole couch story, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we bought that on a credit card that has like 100% purchase guarantee or something like that.
Protection, whatever, yeah.
Yeah, purchase protection, that sort of thing. And so you then decline the payment, and they reach out to them, and then supposedly it goes to arbitrage and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
They just didn't show up. So it's our couch.
Oh God.
So it's free.
Yeah, so what are you gonna do with it now? It's still fucked up.
Well, the thing is, we paid for a new couch and it wasn't new. You could tell it was used.
Yes.
But it's not ruined.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's spots on it, right? But this is like spots that you would get most likely anyway if you used it. But that's the whole point. We wanted a new bloody couch.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not paying new price for something that's clearly used. Just
Fair
like
enough.
all the bolts, you could see all the feet had marks on it from being installed. Half the bolts were stripped, as in both the thread and the Phillips head was like reamed out.
Oh my God.
So put new bolts in it and it's fine.
There you go.
I mean, it's used, but it's free. No. Like, the
Wow.
credit card company even said, sell it, toss it, burn it. Like, we don't care. It's yours now.
Nice. Well, good for you.
So at least we have some place to sit finally. And I mean, it couldn't have gotten done at a better time because supposedly on Monday or Wednesday, a new dining room table is coming.
Okay.
So another thing with this whole fucking ordeal was, right, like, we had a couch in the living room, literally.
Yeah, because you couldn't do anything with it.
Yeah, and if you damage it any further, you buy it regardless.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like, oh, god damn it. Also,
Plus all the packaging.
yes. So we finally got rid of most of that. And because of all this bullshit, we haven't been able to park the car in the garage for like the last 2.5 months now.
Oh my God. Well, it's not like it's snowing in Florida.
Sure, but it's ridiculously hot and your car is semi-melting outside.
Yeah.
Like, and you get in, like, again, today it's hot, right? It's like 28 or something. So you get in the car and it's like, oh, steering wheel. Oh. So you just get in, turn it on, let the AC run for a bit, and then you can actually
I
get
remember
going.
when I was there in August, it was terrible hot. But, I'll take the heat over the cold any day. Max is asking, has anyone figured out why the BNO naming, why is it called BeoLab? It's 1 + 7 = 8, which is the replacement of the 17.
Yeah.
And, like I was told many times in the factory, don't really try to question how BNO uses logic on naming their products, because it makes no sense really, especially numbering system on products, which I think that more or less, I'm kind of surprised because I thought they were going away from it. Like Beosound Theater. You know what? I think I have somebody knocking at my door. 1 second.
Will the BeoLab 8 rattle like the theater? But what rattles on your theater? Because it may be something that you... What? It sounds like you're in another room. Oh, no, it sounds normal again.
Do this.
Yeah.
Is that better? That's so
Yes.
weird. Anyways, yeah, don't wear your portals backwards, people.
mean, my Beosound theater rattled, but it rattled in the mount for the wall mount. So the theater itself didn't rattle. It made the whole theater move, which made the rattle noise. So what do you mean by rattle? I don't think, though, that this jiggle will do anything in terms of rattling, other
I
than
think the
it'll
only
maybe
thing
move itself off level.
the only thing that I can see that would rattle on there, unless they figured it out in post production, I guess, because we had pre production model, is the two magnetic back covers for where the speaker the speaker connection well. Those two just clip on basically by the force of a magnet, but there is not enough. Well, there's enough grip on the magnet, but I think that once the speaker starts being pushed, let's say to 60 volume, and there's enough bass vibration in it that you might hear when it's the song just goes to straight bass, like most of them do sometimes, right?
Hmm.
You might hear the back covers rattle, unless they, like I said, line it with Tessa tape, and then nothing. It'll be inaudible.
They should talk to Prestige creators, because whatever magnets they use on their stuff is like it like zips out of your hand.
Mm.
Yeah, actually,
So
like have to like use something to almost pry it out, because those magnets are so ridiculous that they use.
I wish that Prestige gets on the grills with those, because I don't know how long it's going to take for them to even manufacture the walnut covers.
Probably June, July next year. But then they'll
I think
probably
so.
run into the summer vacation, so by the time they put it out, September.
Because if I'm gonna get them, I'm gonna get them on. I'm gonna get them on table stands, just like they sit there. But I want to get them in walnut, because I would put one where the 18 is right now, and I would put the other one on my nightstand, and then yeah, that's a good surround right there. That would work. But yeah, the if you like any other color than silver, you're gonna have to wait for a while, at least
Yeah.
till the early next year for the gold and uh, anthracite ones to come out.
There's, I think, maybe a few people that have installed H yet. I mean, the installation is not hard. It's, as per usual, it's quite thought through. It's
Hmm.
fine. John's comments about 28's rears, 8's fronts, which that's just base dispersion, right? Because these aren't as base heavy as the 28's are.
Hmm.
So, I mean, do you have to? No. Does it depend on your room? Absolutely. So,
Yes.
so the not all rooms are equal. Not even all square rooms are equal. Certain rooms, due to materials used in the wall, etc., have much more bass boosty characteristics. So,
Hmm.
I mean, the room compensation will compensate for a lot, but the less that has to do, the better, in my opinion.
Yes.
So, I mean, I think they thought they knew of this speaker a while ago when they even mentioned the triangle thing for theater setup,
Hmm.
because it's easier to supplement the front, because the theater is equally bass powerful as the 28s are.
Hmm. I would say it's more a little bit. I know they have the same drivers, but to me, this theater feels like it's got a lot more power. Maybe because the drivers are so close together and they can put more out. But it I don't know. It depends also, because I we very seldomly sell 28s, and if we do, it's very little time that I have to spend with them.
Yeah,
Maybe what I'll do is I'll talk to Kareem and I'll borrow a set for a week and just kind of give him shit before I have any neighbors again, because I kind of want to listen to it and see what they do, especially like in a triangle proper, as they talking about, right? Because
yeah.
that whole bass effect is stretched throughout the entire play field of between the theater and the 28. So I'm definitely keen on giving this a shot.
So, not that many people have in-ceiling speakers, like
Hmm.
2 or 3, and then some people will get some soon. Interesting.
Yeah. So Matthew's asking what do we sell the most? We sell the most as far as the combination. Usually,
90s.
it's the yeah
90s
right.
here, 90s
It's
there.
the actually, you know, I'd be surprised. We sold 350s last month.
Nice. Individual or
So
pairs?
yeah, individual standalone. It just everybody gets a master. You can buy a slave later. No. We sold 3 pairs, so I'm gonna have some fun setting these up. But we all our most sold product right now is obviously the theater. We sell the theater more than we sell the stage now. And if it's a theater, it's sometimes it's alone, but most of the time, well, I would say about 60% of the theaters are accompanied with a set of 18s, or they're accompanied with the speakers that the owner currently has. So, but the theater is the number one, 18s, 19, and then honestly, then it just goes to a lot of, I wouldn't say emerges, but we do a lot of emerge sales. Beosound 2s sell a few, but the theater, man, like from you know, I don't really see the cash and carry point of it, and I don't know how many A5s they sell because it's the people that just come in every now and odd day. We do get an A5 to set up because the guy bought, you know, theater with the 18s and an A5 for his office and a set of H95s to just listen to when he's walking his dog. So it's very seldomly that we set those up, but we sell a lot of cash and carry products. But yeah, number one is theater in our shop for 100%. I think we sold more than any other B&O store in North America so far. And I'm not to brag or boast or shit, but that's just where it is. Like, you know, it's the best product that B&O has come out with in at least last decade. However, it's probably the most laborious product when it comes to the software glitching. There is still things going on that are quite surprising that they should be gone by the software update from 2 3 versions ago, yet they still occur at some places. So I don't know what to tell you, but theaters are, yeah, they're number one product in our store for sure. Everybody that comes in, Kareem takes them to the shop and just sits them down, and basically they just leave with one.
It kind of it how would you say it's sort of not surprising and sort of pleasing in a way that the 18 is still doing so well, because
You know what I think 18s are doing so well? Because the theater unlocks the immense power in them that nobody's ever known they had. And I think it's mostly because they are set to freestanding positions. So all the ABL filters are off, essentially, right? Or the
Mhm.
room positioning filters are off. And then the theater just basically uses the guitar string theory that Jeff explained, right? Where it extends the bass even to whatever capability they have. It uses their full potential based on what it is in their algorithm preset that they had in a tuning filters.
Yeah.
So and as far as you know, the sound quality, I think 18s honestly make more logical sense versus 28s, because you can almost end up with 2 pairs for the cost of one, and then your entire home theater effect becomes much greater when you have theater with dedicated left and right channel. And in my setup and the setups that I do, I started doing left right on the theater with the center, just like it would be alone, and then assign the left and right channel also, so that experience of the stereo is much wider in the movies. It does a very good job at it as far as the theater is concerned. But I still play with the dB levels at all times, because I don't think I personally, I think the opinion of the theater to what the acoustics are versus to what they are in real life sometimes, you know, usually watching movies, is completely different. So
I'm gonna make
yeah, I need to get back into the Discord. I've just been so busy, quite honestly, that when I get home, the last thing I want to look at is a screen of a phone or a computer. Uh, and I just I sit down and I enjoy my own theater and its bugs and glitches. But I don't really have that much going on with it now. I still do have problems with Beo remotes cutting out. Like if it's not used for, because I have 3 of them paired into the bloody theater. Well, 4, but 1 is in a toolbox just in case. The one at the door that I only press standby and my button 2 for YouTube to turn on or stop if I just run out to a convenience store. That one barely ever lags in connection. But the one that I use every day and the Silk remote, which is I guess the newest, in my bed, they like you press volume up and you have to wait like 3-4 seconds before the volume starts reacting on the TV. Or when you going with the YouTube
like it
left,
has
right.
to wake up the connection or the remote.
Yeah. Like, and that's exactly what it is. It's a reestablishing the connection. And I don't. Maybe my understanding is that their assumption is that people have not more than 1 remote.
Which is weird because you sell them in so many colors and they're collectible.
And quite honestly, like, yes, I understand the logic behind it. Usually people do have, in our installations, people usually do have only 1 remote control. But you can't tell me that, okay, if there's people that bought 2 theaters, so they had 2 remote controls, 1 for each. But, like for them, I find really hard for people to understand the list function and then go up and change the products in the menu.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe we should run a poll that how many people have.
Yeah, I'll do that in a mo.
Find it convoluted.
Hooking into the 18s versus 28s. I mean, I've had 28s and I have 18s, and the 18s are for me partially a sentimental reason. So I'm ultra biased, right? But my question for the chat was looks versus performance, and where does it land for you guys? Because I can see for quite a lot of people, right, where the theater is still mainly a TV, not necessarily a surround sound powerhouse music station, something like that. So there is a point where the 18 sound good enough, and then it becomes aesthetics.
Yes.
Because in terms of pretty, I don't think the 28s have it compared to 18s. And I think that you'd be hard to sort of convince people that the 28s are prettier. They're not ugly. I like them. I mean, I didn't get rid of them because of the sound, of the looks. It was more that the sound didn't match with 50s. And that it was in a fucking palette of its own for 2 because of all the boxes. And I was moving internationally. And 18s is just a 2 in 1 box and you're done. It was so much easier.
Yeah, man.
So, I mean, that's before you even get to the price, I guess, the differential. I mean, you can get 18s and a 19, and I personally think that sounds slightly better. Or at least, I should say, it sounds more like the B&O of old. It sounds more like the whole mid-90s to 2020 sound. And the 28s sound Mozarty, which is not bad. It's a preference, right? But it's very bassy compared to everything that came before it.
Yeah, B&O sounded very much lighter in bass.
Yeah.
In the yesteryears of time, other than lap 5s and 9s, I guess. And if you throw in a 2 into the mix, so. But most of the speakers out of the gate were light.
But they were even quite smooth on the bass, like the 5s are. I wouldn't say the 5s are super bass forward. Like they have a lot of bass, but it's not like overpowering the rest.
No.
And at least when I had the 28s, I kind of think the bass was a bit overpowering. Granted, you can tune that out, right? And you can set it to your liking. But straight out of the box, it was a big bass belly that was in the EQ. And I don't know. I'm just not used to it, having lived with B&O for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So I can see all like older customers going like, I prefer the 18 sound because I mean the complete lack of bass also makes sure there is no bass belly.
Mm-hmm. No, I think honestly that the newer generation of product is obviously meant for a younger generation of people in a sense, and most of those people that would appreciate this, in younger generation than me, more or less, they've grown up in a lot of bass heavy music. Really,
Yeah.
think about it. Like that's just what it was. It's and you get the bass competitions with the cars. Like it doesn't matter what music it is. It's just as long as your windows are rattling and the seals are popping off the doors, then that's proper bass. It doesn't matter that you can't hear shit otherwise, but it's what it is. And a lot of people think that like when I still deal with the common misconception that when people think that if they have a surround sound that the vocals need to come out from all 5 speakers. Like,
Wait, what?
yeah, I mean, like, no, man. It's like, well, why is it only the theater playing the vocals in the movie? Shouldn't it be going through everything? I'm like, no, because that's when, like, how do you have effects, bro? You know, and it takes a while for people to understand it at this level point still, which to me it's surprising. But a lot of people have no idea, and I'm not saying it's everybody. I'm just saying people that I come in common contact with as clients, they have a very different perception of how surround sound's supposed to be. To them, surround sound is equivalent to what we would have in a B&O terms of speaker 4, a
Yeah.
quadraphonic stereo. That's not surround. That's quadraphonic stereo. That's all there
Yeah.
is.
I mean, it
So,
just sounds weird if imagine if somebody's talking to you, but you couldn't place where it's coming from because it's coming from all around you.
well, yeah, but that's the surround, man. You don't understand.
I mean, that's I guess quite literally surrounded by sound, but that's
It's so
not
weird.
what it means.
It's so weird. One thing that was absolutely weird to me. Yesterday we went. While I went over my buddy's house, and I helped him move the Avant from his bedroom to the living room. We put it on the wall bracket, and then we took the living room TV and put it in the kitchen. So it's like a whole day of just fucking around with old school B&O and great time having some beers and whatever. We got it all basically finished on a second period of the hockey game, and the Canadians won, so it was like a double win. But the weird thing is, man, that the hockey game is punched out straight in PCM stereo, and even the true image doesn't play it through the center channel. It just goes stereo. Absolutely weird. I'm like, how the fuck? It doesn't matter what, man. You can't. Like, even when you put the Avanto as a separate, just a TV speaker group, right? The center's not working. It's just the left and right. Like it just does not allow for down mixing or up mixing. I've never seen that, but it's only with that.
Weird.
So
That's really weird.
yeah. Willie, when you install the Beosound theater with surround speakers, do your customers more use wired or wireless speakers connections? If it's 18s, obviously, if it's possibility for wiring, we always cable, or I prefer cabling the speakers.
It's probably also cost slightly.
And then it also, yeah, it's a greater cost versus simplicity of like, okay, well, you know what? Let's just hook this up, plug it in, pair it together. If it works, awesome. If you have problems, then we have to come back and we'll wire it if need be, obviously. But most of the installations are wireless when it comes to the 18s and such, because people place them in fucked up positions that you can't really run cable to, and in the condo buildings where they usually put it on the one speaker always ends up on a curtain glass wall by the column where there is a power outlet, but piss off with everything else. There's no way to run stuff, and it's in floor concrete conduit, and forget
you just
it, right?
tie it around and pull it through.
Fuck. So yeah, so no, like that. Most of the connections are wireless. Obviously, when we do in-ceiling speakers, those things have to be wired. But Yeah, we run a lot of it wirelessly. I've never had issues with it. I've had more issues with, let's say, 28's parity than I had issues with WISA dropping out in any of our clients' homes. And usually, like I said, it's either a condo or it's a house that is big or it's a residence that is completely outside where you look at your phone and the only Wi-Fi that you see is his. So the likelihood of any possible interference is almost non-existent unless they build a some military radio tower beside him or something. But other than that, I really don't. I have not come across here in Montreal that we had WISA issues with connectivity as far as dropping off and dropping out and being intermittent.
Well, quite honestly, the difference between here and Europe also is that there's like 20 channels in the 5 gigahertz spectrum that aren't allowed to be used. For Wi-Fi, I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And in Europe, they are allowed to be used. So, and I think it's channel 122 to like 144 or something like that.
Okay.
So in the US, there is always an open spot of like 20 channels where WISA just can sit and be okay.
Yes.
And if your router starts sweeping for channels in Europe, like it goes past everything.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh
I
yeah,
think
there we
that's
go.
probably potentially quite a difference.
I'm sure there is. I'm sure that also the density of population or where you are, that makes a big difference
Yeah,
too. To how
absolutely.
many, but other than that, usually when we do it, it's penthouse levels, right? So there's really not many people above you. You only have people below you, and Wi-Fi usually drops downwards versus radiating upwards. So the amount of interference you really have is negligible. The only time that you could come across it is if you have a freaking cell tower on top of your building, and that messes up everybody,
Yeah, or
not
if
just your.
you, I don't know, look at quote unquote apartments like that Caroline Wozniacki in the B&O thing, right?
Mhm.
That apartment is bigger than most luxury houses in Europe
Yeah,
because it's like 300 square meter apartment.
yeah, but those
That's
see, like when you're
enormous, right?
floating at that level of money, usually, like from my personal experience working with B&O in Calgary, it's more or less the same here, but when people move into a penthouse, usually the penthouses are done to like the bare bones in as far as the spec is concerned in Calgary, because people usually go in there and they basically tear it all out and they redo it themselves and do put their own things in there. Like they have to obviously comply with like the shading system so it's consistent throughout the building's look. But what they do inside is their own damn business, and that's when we come in and we just do the pre-wire for all of it. And more or less the same things happen here. It's not a brand new building, but usually when people move into a penthouse, the building is at least 30, 40 years old type of thing, unless it's a new residences like Nuns Island and so on. We go in there and they rip everything out, so we have studs, so we just run our wires based on the design of whatever, put the in ceiling speakers, coordinate with the trades, and make sure the only things you can't fuck with are the sprinklers because that's given by the building and has been there since the day one of being built. Everything else you work around, and then you go back when the paint's dry and you put stuff in.
Yeah. I mean, if you go, I think it in Chicago, like places like Trump Tower, where it's not even the penthouse; it's one of the sub penthouses, but they are
Hmm.
like 400 square meters, 500 square meters of apartments, right? It's just like I
That's
don't think
insane.
Europeans can like, and the penthouse is like over 750 square meters of apartments. That's like I
That's
don't
few
know,
houses
four
combined.
times a normal, 4 times a large house in the Netherlands. Like a large house in the Netherlands is 200 square meters.
Yeah, the spaces here are different, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking like 12 bathrooms and 10 bedrooms in an apartment. It's
Yep.
fucking crazy.
I've seen it all, man. Well, I can't say I've seen it all, but I've seen a lot. I've seen a lot in my career as a B&O technician, and being in sales and doing the whole thing all by myself. Seen a lot of beautiful places, but they don't look as beautiful without the B&O in them. That's for sure. Because you can ruin a very nice room with just putting a piece of shit TV on it above the fireplace, and man, just the whole look goes out the window.
Yeah, I mean,
So
like the bedrooms in certain apartments, quote unquote, are bigger than my fucking living room.
see, but like, there's a perfect example. How do you wire something like this? Either you're very sneaky, but if it's in Florida, I don't even know if there's space heaters around the buildings, like the windows perimeter, right? Because it
Yeah,
doesn't really get that cold. So where do you hide the cables? You know what I'm saying? Like, the only option is to, like, at a full renovation where you
in the floor.
literally have to rip out the floor, channel into it, or raise the fucking floor by an inch, so
Yeah,
you have enough channel space to run the cables and service wherever you need to service. And then, yeah, then you can have 50s with the floor plugs, just sitting perfect.
well, you
But
run into
that's
these crazy luxury problems because if you have a TV on the wall and you need to go up, over, and down, the cable is so long you get signal degradation.
yeah, I haven't come across that, but we've ran some serious runs. I'm
Yeah,
telling you
but like
that.
here, the ceiling, right, is like 6 meters above you. So just in up is 12 meters. So you
No, I
bet.
know, but it's the same thing, bro. Like, it's the same thing like running shit in a dealership. You know what I mean? Like, you're running speaker cables runs that are, 80 meters long. There's signal degradation, but at the end of the day, they still play music on the other side. It's, what it is.
Yeah,
But if you're doing power link or you're doing any of that, you know, if you're running Cat 7, I don't think you would have as much of a risk and issue as running some cheeseball, China made, aluminum, copper coated, Cat 5E cables that are 15 cents a fucking box. And then you have issues because the cables just degrade over time. Believe it or not, the current flowing through them does have effect on the metal. And that's what the
yeah.
difference is between high-end grade cables and shite. But people don't understand that mostly. And another thing is that I find really awful is from the yesteryears of installations where they pull, instead of doing, let's say, even if they have cat 5 cables, right, if you put 2 or 3 of them, they pull one if even, and then there's a coax and also an HDMI from back when HDMI socket was invented. So like HDMI 1.1 or 1.0, and then they accept, well, it's an HDMI cable, like, you should just have 4K. I'm like, well, it doesn't work like that,
No, 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 no.
So yeah, then there comes the feels bad of disappointment to explain that to people. But
It's
yeah,
like
for
saying,
sure, for
well, I have a phone line, so I should be getting gigabit internet. It's like,
right. So yeah, I it really depends, but to summarize the answer to the question is, we run most of it wirelessly till the problems arise, but there's very few and far in between that I had to go back. I actually can't recall anywhere here that we've set up a set of speakers in a WISA mode that I had to go back to deal with it. So no, it works very well here. And then we have the 1420 Montreal. I fucking hate that building. It's a labyrinth. It's an anthill, basically. It's an anthill for very for well-off people. I would say not very wealthy, but well-off people. It's a labyrinth that it sucks to navigate when you're doing an install, and there usually takes half an hour just to get to the unit. It's insane.
so I would
But
say, with regard to your remote question, by the way, almost
mhm,
40% have 2 or more remotes paired to it.
there you go.
So you're not unusual in that sense.
Hmm. So yeah, but just to touch back on that, it's like that building per se. It's an old monastery, so it's built from fucking rock and hate.
Get the chisel out, boys.
That's right. So that place really is rock solid when it comes to not having interference anywhere. Yes, and you know what, Steven, is I agree with Steve completely. It's 100% better to wire, but then the problem is also if you can't wire it, that's not really the statement. You can't. You always can wire it, but can you hide the damn cables is another question. Because everything can be surface run, but do you want to have a client to be stepping on the cables per se, or if they have a vacuum, the robot thing that is dumb enough to suck up PowerLink 3 mil cables and so on.
Just duct tape it on the floor, put a carpet over it.
So
fine.
that's the thing. Also, Steve is in a business of cables, so it's obviously going to recommend to always wire. Why would you not, right?
You should start selling wireless cables.
That's right. But when it comes to, I completely agree with him, and if you get into, let's say, 50s or 90s, you definitely have to wire them, because then you're limiting the speaker's ability for high bitrate music, because you can only do, I think, 92 kilohertz at 24 bit on the Wi-Fi. You cannot go to 192 or 196, whatever it is. So at that point, if you have a sick DAC and the whole system, like,
not just that, in Wi-Fi it doesn't talk left to right speaker anymore. Not really.
Not at all. They're not aware of one another. So definitely, that's the speakers you wire. And those are the speakers that, in my opinion, are worth having a title subscription with the master recordings and all that, because they can really show that. Anything below that, you're try-harding it, in my opinion. 28s, nah. But the 50s and 90s, like, those are the real McCoy. That's the speakers that you definitely don't fuck around with. You wire those no matter what. I don't give a shit how. If you have money to buy the speakers, we have money to wire those properly without you not being able to see the cable. Period.
Yeah, and if you don't care, then that's fine too. Like, just wire it regardless.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're some sort of what you call it, if you work for like the Taylor Swift concert tour or something, and you tape down wire all day long over the floor, right?
Well, but if you think about it, like, here's the funny thing, right? Like, people have an issue with having essentially 2 cables or 3 cables to be looking at from one speaker and 2 cables to be looking at the other speaker, because you have a power link going to the primary, and then you have a DPL going into the secondary.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 2 cables out of that 1 plus power, that's 3, and then you have power on the other one, so there's 2 wires. That's all you have to look at. Where if you have those stack systems, then you have cables now that probably don't fit this loom, right?
Yeah.
You got these fucking cement mixer speaker wires going in everywhere, but that's okay to look at, apparently. And I think the reason why it's looked at, because you blew 10, 15 grand on fictitious copper or whatever else have you, right? So, and then you make believe that sounds better, so you're okay to live with, thick ass wires. But that's not what B&O does.
I'm personally not that bothered about wire. Like, it shouldn't be a super mess, right? But like, I'm not Danish, so I don't have this OCD about not being able to see any wire.
Well, I'm, within the limitations, right? Like, I don't like to look at the cables, even here. Like, I could have made a messier job of the theater, but, I went around, I searched till I found a freaking extension cord that is white and is long enough that reaches here all the way into the back ass end of the theater, so I can plug everything in there.
No, sure, I agree with that. But, like, I'm personally up, like, even if you put a cable gutter on your baseboard, fine, whatever.
Well, like, sometimes you don't have an option.
Yeah, sure, but like, I'm not the type of person to go sit, like, hey, I can see potentially where wires go. It's like, I don't care.
You know what I wish that was considered with the theater is a power bypass.
What do you mean bypass?
And what I mean by that, and it's also something that LG should fucking wake up from. Why do we have to have the damn power cord affixed to the back of the TV that is unpluggable? Like, you can't unplug the bloody LG panel socket. So you have to always pull the cable through the VESA mount. Why couldn't there be a figure-8 plug on the back of the LG panel and a bypass cable that would be made just like the old BeoLab 2500s had with the Beosound 2400 system, or Beosystem 2400, where they had the female figure-8s, so you could plug in the TV and the theater, and then just one cable would come out. That should have been done and considered. Or at least, well, you can't do it because of the LG's nonsense.
Chop chop. And Wago
Well,
clips.
yeah, but in fairness, I think what also that should have been, like, for the insane amount of money that you pay for that VESA mount, right?
Yeah.
There should have been accommodations for power built in, so you can.
Yeah, but
you
which
can
power? And I think the problem partially with that is that if you, I totally see it happen in the US Canadian market, right? Because the plugs here are tiny.
Yes.
But the Dutch plugs are quite a lot bigger.
Oh,
But
yeah,
then if
and
you go to
England,
England,
yeah,
like, holy hell, what a plug.
Yeah, because they got fuses and shit in them. That's stupid.
Yeah.
I think there's still enough depth to hide the English plug inside the theater. Correct me if I'm wrong, somebody in England from the chat, if you have a VESA mount with the electricity stuff behind it. But I think that that's just, it's the LG problem. I'm not griping on B&O, but the LG pisses me off that they really make it stupid. Even with a contour, there are some that you have to unscrew the plug and take out that big fat ass Molex connector from the back and put it in. So
I just cut the end of the plug off and use Wago clips. Works a treat. Plus, you can, if you align them right, you can put them side by side, so it's not really any thicker than the cable is. Like, it's a bit wider, but that's how I did it on my Harmony to save space and stop that back door from popping off, right? Like, I bought the 3 wide Wago clips, so I could loop the panel and the Harmony into the same clip for all the positive, negatives, and grounds, and then have just one wall plug that resets all of it.
that makes sense.
So,
That makes
I mean,
total
that's
sense.
what I did there, and I mean, that worked a treat. I mean, generally, when something needed to be reset, you're better off doing the whole thing anyway.
Yeah.
So, I mean, also what's kind of weird is that LG's panels, since the C9, I think, maybe CX, have universal power supplies. So it really doesn't matter. Like, they could just do the figure 8 or whatever.
That's what I'm saying. Out of the yes, it's
Because without an inverter, my Dutch TV works here. Like, I cut the plug off, obviously, but like, it works on US power. It's fine. Nikki, do you have the bar used to move 50s, or do you just pick them up? And...
What bar? Was there a bar?
No.
Not that I know of. There's handles for the 90s.
I should normally like wait until I'm not sore from doing other construction stuff, but I tend to pick them up and then like you hear like in your shoulders because it's so fucking heavy. Because I do it by myself, right?
To pick up, but they're awkward to pick up, but you can pick them up. Usually better with 2 people, because one person can grab it by the connection. Well, there's a little opening so you can. They're not the most friendliest speakers to handle by hand. That's for 100%. But I don't think there is any bar. You can move the 50s with 2 metal bars. I am going to look.
There are some pin holes that go through, I think.
Hmm. Interesting. I'd never heard of it. I'm fixing to find out.
I mean, for here anyway, like I said, I just like lift them up and try and not have them on me here. And like, I mean, it's 61 kilos. It's quite something. And then you go, and they go straight up, and I have a dolly, and that's how I put them on. And then, God, last time I was way too sore when I did it, and then uh, you lift them up, and you're halfway up, and I mean, the 50s are off the floor, and you hear like in your shoulder, and it's like, God damn it. I can't
Yeah,
just
they're
drop
not
them or
light.
anything, right?
So there is a hook for lifting, but that's more or less for a crane. I don't see. I'm looking at the installation video. Yeah, there's a crane hook that there's holes for, but I do not see anywhere in the installation guide anything about the bars, guys. I know
Is
see.
it, you can't see a part number to order or something like that?
Hook for lifting doesn't say. It doesn't have a part number here on
Oh.
the not on the installation guide. It would have it probably in the service manual. But yeah, this is more or less like they craned them up, like proper Danish ceremonial way. But I don't see anything. Just trying to scroll through. There's the microphone.
I don't know. If you have two adult males, it's no problem at all. Like, just do it together, right? It's not that heavy with two, but I would caution you to do it by yourself.
Yeah, that's it's not a B&O part. Okay, makes sense. I don't know. We just lift them up, man. I have my gloves on so I don't fingerprint the shit.
I mean, I would have the best way to carry them on the top anyway, I think, is with the three mid ranges pointing up, because then you can slide in your fingers deepest. And then, I mean, at the bottom, there's enough of an edge, or you can even stick like two fingers in the hole where the cables come up. That idea, and then you just lift them. It's fine. It's not that heavy with two people.
No, it's not. It's just awkward to pick up, but it's not. They're not the end of the world. You know, the 90s are the end of the world. That's a different animal completely. That's a different conversation piece.
Yeah, that's like if you do that too often, you become shorter because you're compressing your spine.
Yeah. So no, I've never seen those bars. I'm sorry, but we usually just deal with them. And I would have known if they were around as a B&O part, because especially around if looking at the 90s too. Like I bought everything that needed to be bought or was required for the skating them around and lifting them and so on.
The 90 skates were something like
I think they're
$1,100 or something, right?
yeah. I think maybe $1,100. Now they might be, but when I bought mine, I think I got billed 750 US for them in 2016.
Yes, it's probably
The price
1,000
of
or so.
the rubber coated caster wheels is up now by 100%, so it's probably $1,100. You know, these are pre-COVID wheels. The post-COVID wheels are more expensive.
Without sick bearings.
That's right. Can we say COVID now? I don't know. Well, we'll see.
I don't know. We'll see if we get an annotation from YouTube, like misinformation.
Oh, Christ on a cracker. So yeah. Yeah, well, you only need one pair of skates, really. It's not like it's, each speaker has two legs, or you don't need to skate them around in two. Like, you always take them one at a time.
Yeah.
And, yeah, just have I call them the bull horns. But
if you're going to buy anything, I would almost say is that the whole lifting accessory is more useful than the skates.
No. After doing it the way we've done it, especially here in Montreal, a lot of fucking stairs, it is easier to pick up the BeoLab 90 if you have a staircase wide enough, have it on the flipping skates, and then 3 guys, one from each angle of the triangle, picks up the long part of the skates, and you can lift up that speaker in a much, much safer manner than having one guy trying to shorten his jig enough that it can offset the, like you're 2 steps apart, maybe 3 steps apart. So that's a lot of distance in how much you have to lift up your jig and how much he has to loosen his up, and then you risk in catching the risers with the crowns and shit. With when you have the skates on, there is no, unless you roll the speaker to the side, there is no chance in hell you can damage anything on it. I wouldn't recommend rocking them, but I've done it before. I'd rather drive them over, because I had to do that in a house where the door was too narrow. Well, it was too narrow for the 90s on their own to cross unless you take the crowns out. So I had to dismantle the entire speaker, and then we, with skates, picked it up, put it in a more or less halfway into the doorway on the blanket, and then we dragged the speaker with the sitting on the blanket or standing on the blanket. We dragged it to its more, not final location, but just enough that we can put the skates back on and roll it into its final location and tow in. So it's not the funnest, but it's definitely doable. But they're a different animal of a requirement when it comes to labor intensity or just sheer risk and weight.
Lifting hook? Weird. I don't understand why you would just not carry it or just get somebody else to help you.
Mm-hmm. My camera is so shaky today. Fudge.
I mean, I wouldn't,
yeah, this is it.
I wouldn't move them too far anyway outside of the pallet.
No.
So, I mean, you're not going to like walk half a mile outside of the pallet. So,
no, usually it's just,
yeah.
And that's where the final resting place is, and you just turn them to the spot where you need to turn them to the spot to, and that's it. Yeah, you don't take those for a walk, man. Fuck.
I mean, my dealer and I got them up the stairs in my old apartment. I mean, one top, one below, and like I said, just you have the finger imprint things where you can like lift it and then slowly lift it up like that, and then you just walk up the stairs, and it's not too bad.
Yeah. All right, on, buddy. Got his penta cables. So the guys in Boston helped you out. I'm very glad. Good job. What is this?
You don't just use okay. But they're not that hard to move. They're only hard to move by yourself. I mean, 90s are hard to move.
Well, like, 90s are, you need somebody there.
Maybe like 100%. Tweak them a bit by yourself, but you're not going to move them without destroying them.
Yeah, you can't slide them much because those feet will come right off the bottom, those rubber feet. Because they're basically resets on 2-pin rubber grommets into the speaker chassis.
The bedroom over there, that's where my 50 sat with all the construction over there. So it's like I lift them out the box on the floor onto like a dolly, and then we move them, just roll them, right? And then where you are, you lift them up and you put them next to it. It's fine. I mean, it's heavy. It's unpleasant by yourself, but
it's something you don't do every day either, though. So
no. I mean, you'll feel it the day after. It's like, whew, that was a good shoulder workout. Because like it's easy, like it's 60 kilos is not hard to lift, I don't think, anyway. But The problem is that you don't like want to rub it all over yourself for scratches and or indenting the. So you're sort of lifting 60 kilos off of you, right?
Well, you also are not gonna wear fucking jeans with like a cowboy's belt buckle and shit, right? When you're moving
Yeah.
those, like you don't have anything that can scratch and damage or dent the aluminum. Also, you take the side strip panels off too. Like that's what I do to be safer. And then you have somewhere to grip without, making a mess out of it with your greasy hands or whatever. Because at that point, like when you're lifting this, no matter what, like your hand starts to sweat, and what you grab is just,
Yeah. Yeah, I was
I
more
don't know.
worried about like denting aluminium or pushing the drivers in or something like that, right? So
Yeah. No, just be careful when you move them. I actually have to do that. Oh, thanks, bud. Much appreciated.
thank
That's it.
you, Babalola. That's it. Sorry, I was going to say it the other way around. Avant 55 video engine replaced to resolve blank screen issue, and new FRC ribbon cables installed, but TV is still intermittently having blank screen with no logo, but starts working after the TV is turned on and off.
Question I would have, if it's possible, I don't know how long that blank screen lasts. Can you take a flashlight and shine it into a corner where there's a picture? Like, when you press menu, so on the left-hand side, if you see the LCD showing menu very vaguely, it's the picture module interface that's or a PIM that's going, which controls the LED backlighting. That's the LED backlighting module basically that controls the panel. Because if you had changed the video engine, you should have picture no problem. That's it's a PIM or your panel is having issues. But if your panel had issues, you would have seen that immediately, and it would be permanent, not intermittent. So my guess is a picture module interface, which is a little board on the back of the display of the Avant behind the fucking video engine, of course. So it's deep in there, but it's definitely fixable
That's
or replaceable.
same thing that sometimes happens to BV11s, right?
Yeah, that we had one with the picture module interface done like that. The LCD works, but there's no backlighting, so you can't see the display.
Yeah, yeah. It's. I guess most people don't fully aren't aware that your LCD working is not actually what makes the picture. It's the backlight, and then the LCD part makes the colors that you see.
That's right, and the polarizers just turn on and off certain pixels to put light through, but that's about it. But that would be my suspicion, that it's the picture module interface that's going. It's a board, honestly, like this big. It's very little. It's about the size of a iPhone 10. And yeah, there's a couple of ribbon cables going in from the bottom and one from the top that exits out. I forget which ones. I think the bottom ones are to the panel, and the top is the feed from the main video engine.
I would say though that if this is that obvious, your dealer should have spotted that, surely.
Yeah, it could have been also that when they tested it, that problem didn't occur till the TV was moved and sat for a little bit, and then it turns back on, turns back off, and it starts
Yeah,
to go through its
caps
regular use
drain
cycles, and that's it. And then the problem shows up. I would also consider buying a little
you did already have
fan.
the most expensive stuff replaced, though.
Yes, the video engine.
Yeah. It should not be in the same realm of cost at all.
No, that board is not that expensive. But I would also consider, I don't know, if you're in Europe, then you're probably a little bit screwed because you have the goofy tuner box inside. But if you're in North America side, the tuner box is not present in those models, and you can put a fan inside that blows down towards the video engine board. Basically, those two video processing chips that get extremely hot, and it helps quite a bit. Had you had a 75 or 85, then you could move the power supply fans. At least one of them you could move into the other side. TV is 5-year-old from new. Is that a Mark II Avant then, I wonder?
Must be.
But that makes no difference because that's the only thing different on that is operating system, more or less.
Yeah. Well, the backlight is global
And the
dimming,
board, yeah, and the board is different too, a little bit.
but even so, it's the same idea. Just, I would say, next time it happens, put a flashlight or a torch, wherever you are, uh, and see if you can see anything happening on the picture.
Yeah, that's the only way to see, because that if that's the case, then it's definitely that. Or it could be something as simple. Oh, it's Mark One. It could be something as simple as one of those ribbon cables. When they put it in, it might have gotten damaged because they are fragile than a freaking flower, man. And I know because I had damaged one myself. I'm not gonna
Yeah,
fucking deny it,
or
but we had to
it
replace one.
pulls a slight bit out of the connector, or what have you.
Yeah, but if connection wasn't seated properly, would be more or less consistent of a fault because there's no connection between certain parts of
Yeah,
the
that
board.
does. That's less, especially since he says it's intermittent.
To me, it more or less sounds like, the PIM module has somewhere that it's overheating and it shuts down itself, the backlighting, and then it comes back on when it cools down to a certain point, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only thing I can think of. But that means that the board is starting to get faulty, simply said. So hopefully that helps to you or helps you out.
Yeah, because they're
that would be my
beautiful
guess.
TVs to keep on going.
They're the last true B&O television, man. Period.
Yeah.
It's all bastards after that with the LG and whatnot. But don't get me wrong, they're awesome, but it's not the soup and the sauce that the B&O was made from. You know what I mean? It's a different kitchen that they cook this in now.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, unfortunately, there's going to be no support for BeoLab 8 on the Avant series anymore. They're not going to put them in the software.
Wait, why not?
I didn't ask why they made the decision because that's usually, you don't question it. They are abandoning that platform, the ASC platform, in my opinion, completely when it comes to that.
What the heck? Because some of these TVs aren't actually all that old.
Old enough.
Yeah, but it's just some software upload, right? Like, what were we talking about? 200 kilobytes?
My news that I've gotten, they're not going to have that implemented on the Beosystem 4 platforms and lower. So your V1s, your Avants won't
Your
have.
BV11s, BV14s.
No, none of that will have that preset, I don't think. Maybe if there's enough burara and complaints about it, it will be implemented. But so far, that's the official talk that I get. So I don't know what you're gonna pair them like, or pretend them to be BeoLab 3s, I guess, or make them look like 17s, because I don't know how they're going to even be recognized. That's subject to testing, of course, as well. Because we still have an Avant that we can test it with, that we just put together yesterday. So, but I think that, yeah, Sandeep, that's the one way to juice the theater sales, and quite honestly, theater's the new game, in my opinion. In a lot of, even people that have Avants, like, offer them a trade-in value, and they get a display that they can interchange, and they're now more or less impervious to technology change, because the soundbar is soundbar. But that's just where it's at.
Look, I understand that they don't want to do it, right? Because, I mean, they are, what, like a V1 is, what, 10 years old or so? Maybe 8? When was the last one sold? Like 7 years ago?
I think so.
But the thing is, at that time, their whole sort of idea why B&O was expensive but cheap is that it would last at least a decade.
Yeah. Well, that's in their mantra too, right? Or whatever.
Yeah. So, like, how the hell can you say, well, it lasts, but we're not supporting it? Like, you bought this thing, 10 years later, well, there's a new speaker. Would you like to buy it? Well, set it to something random, whatever.
Yeah. Or would you just have to have them hardwired and pretend that they're 17s connected? I don't know. I honestly don't know how you're going to cheat that system.
I mean,
For me, it's not just a concern of from a consumer's point of view. It's more, my concern is more or less from the installer's point of view. How do I make that work?
yeah, but the thing is, we're not even talking about a whole new redesign. It's just an upload. Like it's a sound profile. Like how much data can that be?
I don't know. Probably icon is a lot. They have to make an icon for it.
Whoop-de-doo.
And they most likely have to have somebody do it, which I don't think that's the option. I don't think they have anybody to
Yeah,
do
but
it.
how many Advanced 11s, V1s are still out there? 14s for that matter?
Quite a bit.
Horizons? Are they also not gonna get? Because the
No.
last Horizon was sold like, well, they still sell them, I think, in certain places, but like they stopped making them like 2.5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine your 2-year-old TV doesn't even get the sound profile updates anymore.
Yeah, it's sad, but
Because we're not talking about some like, oh, this will all of a sudden do 4K HDR and it's totally new. We're updating the whole Google ecosystem that Android shit still runs on. No, it's just a sound profile. Like the rest, it is in a way still shit.
mm-hmm. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe they will. I don't see it, man. But then again, they say stuff, and then that backfires severely on them, and they fix it somehow, or they do something to step up the game.
Look, in terms
But
of luxury, right? If we're luxury, this is not the thing to skimp on.
mm,
Like, surely if we want to be the whole luxury company, like, what will this cost them? Like a dude working for a day?
even if it's few, like it's a happy feel happy for a lot of clients, right? Because you can
Yeah.
get your. Maybe they did a projection how many people will buy those versus how much it's it worth for them to do the software comparatively, right?
Yeah, but how is
I
that
don't know. I don't know where
luxurious?
they're pulling their metrics out of, but I think wherever they're pulling their metrics out of is incorrect.
Like, I
If they're
understand
pulling
the
the
whole
metrics out
smart
of the app,
platform is not going to work on 11s much anymore, or the Android bit, like whatever. I understand that part, but if you still have one and it still works, what?
you're just gonna have to buy yourself some 18s instead. 28s are not in the
It's
Avant,
good
are they?
promotion of your new stuff, right? Like that you have to buy older stuff because that only
But
really works properly.
28s also are not, are they in the Avant? I don't think so. I don't remember if the 28s were put in.
I don't know.
I
50s
don't
for
think they
sure
are.
were.
50s were because they leaked that way.
Yeah.
Oops. But I don't think the 28s are already on it. I don't think any of the Mozart platform speakers are going to be included in a future for the past products, which kind of strikes me as odd because you guys had gone through the lengths of measuring everything all the way back to pentas for the theater sound profiles, right? So it has that. Yet you won't, because for some reason the ones that you had measured before for the Biosystem 3 platform were not sufficient enough, let's just call them, for the whatever the algorithm that the theater is running to build these filters. You had to do the remeasurement. So I don't understand why it would be such a hard time to implement that into an older platform. And if it's not worth doing one, well, now you have two, because I don't think the 28s are on there. So you could put 28s and the 8s on the bloody thing and, maybe make it worth the time. So I don't know.
Support Bang & Olufsen, whatever the link is, Sandeep.
I'll open it right now.
In the meantime, I want to say go follow our good friend.
Okay, so it is with so the 28s are compatible with the older TVs.
Go follow our good friend Carl. He's a photographer, quite often on Instagram, posts awesome stuff, and he's also B&O nut. So I'll be going through some pictures he took at a opening event in Belgium, and took some amazing pictures.
So
I'll try to
yeah,
not have the
nice.
people in it. But this is, I think, a new store. It's like
Okay,
fucking gorgeous.
is it B&O dealer?
Yeah,
Okay,
or at least a B&O event.
so I don't know, Sandeep, if they should be compatible, but like, are they gonna have a sound profile in them, right? Do they gonna show up as BeoLab 8s? Or are they gonna be recognized? That's the question. That harmony, that contour looks beautiful in bronze on that wall.
I mean, in the end, anything with a PL in and out will work. It's just
Hmm.
like the BV10, right? If you had, I don't know, 50s or
17s.
yeah, you had to set it to BeoLab 3,
Yeah.
effectively. And it'll work, but it's not fully supported and it doesn't sound really correct.
Yeah, I'm gonna see, man. Now I'm very curious. I guess once we finish up the podcast, I'll go. I don't know if anybody has a V1 or an Avant. Go to your speaker connections and see if you can see a BeoLab 28 and BeoLab 8 in there. But I'm gonna check tomorrow in the shop because now I'm wondering, or I might go to my girlfriend's house and look at her V1. Fudge. But yeah, I don't think that they're gonna push forward with that. That looks beautiful too.
Yeah, I'm
The
just trying
walnut.
to make it a bit bigger. This page is a bit weird.
Yeah, I'm. Speaking of harmonies, I guess they look gorgeous, but we don't really sell them anymore. Everybody goes for the theater. It just, I think more people option in the acoustic trade-off for the movement or magic movement trade-off. You know,
Yeah.
because you can buy. I don't understand why the floor stand for the theater is so expensive compared to anything else. It's not really that much
Put it
more
closer
special.
to a harmony, so you potentially still sell some harmonies.
Harmony sounds great, but it doesn't sound nowhere near as good as the theater. That there's just obviously no comparison.
No.
But I more or less perceive Harmony as a beautiful BeoVision 9. Like, it's a TV that definitely needs extra speakers around it. It's not something that uh
Yeah, the bigger
to
speakers you
me
add
would
to it, the
suffice. Yeah.
less difference it sort of becomes, right?
Yes.
Like if you
Yeah.
have a theater and you have 90s, or you have a harmony and you have 90s, it's kind of like,
Yeah.
it becomes a beauty question or a preference question at that point.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Matthew, that the Harmony should be mounted lower. A lot of people mount it high. I don't understand. I don't think, in my personal opinion, I don't think that TV should ever been a wall mount option. It should have come out with a moving floor stand out of the box, and that's all you get. And the
The
wall
only
mounting
person I
is,
think that did it right with the wall mount option is Stig, because he
yes,
essentially wall
he put it
mounted
low
it
as
on the
hell.
floor.
Yeah. He's made enough room for the robot vacuum to fit under it, basically, and that's it. Which is perfect because then you don't see the bottom plate that joins those two posts.
I mean, I must say though, in the previous picture, this is more so like dining room table type. This is a showroom in the end, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so the height when it's sort of your dining room TV matters less than when it's your regular TV.
Babylon says that Beovision Mark 1 has the
Sweet.
28s. So okay, so they're there. Maybe, but I don't obviously didn't see the Lab 8s in there, so we'll see if that ever will become something or not.
Do the 8 show up in your? Oh no, that you can't really tell that the same way anymore, can you?
What, in the theater?
Yeah.
Well, you could under speaker assignments. They are there
Do they
with
show
the
up in the list?
with the 3.2.2 software or 3.2.3.2 software. They are there.
Okay.
Yeah, they are definitely there. Let's go to speaker connections or connected speakers.
Now people know where to look when there's potentially new speakers coming.
Yeah.
Just be on the beta because it's probably in there.
Well, I don't know about the beta, man. No, it doesn't. Add third-party speaker. Yeah, no, I can't add them without having. Theater's way too smart for this, man. It knows that there's nothing connected, so I can't fake connect anything into it. But I know that 3.2.3.2 software has them because that's the software we had to run in order for them to have the, when we had the training session with the traveling pair.
Mm-hmm.
And also the Lab 8s, all 4 of them gotten upgraded while we were doing them. Like they all got a software update pushed to them while we were setting them up. So it was a 2-hour delay basically to listen to them. But once we set them up, they sound balls, man.
Is there any?
They sound really good.
I've seen a few times now that the latest software update on the 28s have made them sound a lot better. Is there anything known about that?
Never heard of it. And quite honestly, for some reason, none of the 28s I've tried, they won't go past 3.2.1 right now in our shop. Unless Monday I'm in the store tomorrow. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to push the software in through the service tool or product health scanner and see if that will do anything.
Okay.
But I also find that, which is weird, like we've talked about this earlier, that not all serial numbers are updated in the same fashion. So the oldest theater we have, which is the first one that we had for demo in the store, that one has always the latest software first. And then the rest of them that we installed when we renovated the store, which was in May, so 5-6 months later, they show up 2-3 weeks later with the software. So
on the updating, it's sort of goes both ways, although it is a third in the minority where they can see the abandoning of older software platforms, I guess. But it goes between no, don't, and absolutely not, each about a third.
Interesting, Babalos. So you have a V1 as well. V140 does not have any 28s on it. Interesting.
I mean, is it unlikely for a V1? Maybe, but Jeff did make 90s with a V1, so...
Right.
You had 90s with a V1?
And I had a 90s I had a V132 with a 90s, for the love of God.
This Anthracite Beosound 2 is fucking gorgeous, by the way.
Yeah, it looks sick. But you know what though? Like it's just now it's very much compare aesthetics to acoustic trade-off because the Beosound 2 is now floating in the same price point as a Beosound A9.
Yeah.
And the A9 will steamroll the shit out of this thing.
But no doubt, hands down.
Not with the looks.
But it's gorgeous though.
Yeah, no, it's a beautiful product for sure. It's beautiful.
I mean, it's also so much smaller that it's so much easier to place.
Yeah, it makes me want to dig up my Beosound 1 in piano black. That was a sexy speaker as well. There's the anthracite with walnut, I believe, or smoked oak. That looks almost smoked oak and walnut. Yeah, it's a nice showroom. Definitely. I like that. The brick walls. I really like that rough old aesthetic with brand new cutting edges and sharp lines. It looks sick.
I mean, it's also just actually an old place, right? Like most places in Europe are.
That's right. Yeah, you don't have to pretend fake it with fake walls and such.
Yeah, because here in America, if at all, they literally bake bricks and then cut slivers and stick them on the wall like that.
That's right.
This is like
Still drywall behind it, bro.
Yeah, my stone wall is just glue.
Yeah, it's not really real.
I mean, the Harmony does have beautiful sort of edges like this.
It's a beautiful TV as far as the lines and sexy of it concerned. It's definitely the nicest. But, you know, if I had a 65-inch Harmony here, it would look I don't think it would look as dominant, but I would want to have a 77 then, because then the lamellas look more proportionate versus the 65. It looks very boxy.
Yeah.
Which is the smallest,
well,
right?
Off, it would still be lower than what you have now.
Of course. Maybe 77. Yeah, 77 would still be lower than this one stands. But the 77 would have been just way too much for this little room.
Nah, you could choose
way too much. I know I would. Fuck.
2 weeks and it's like, oh, that's kind of normal.
Should have gotten the 88. Call this. No, it's not that. No way. But surprisingly, we don't sell much Halos. Beautiful remote, very limited in function, but we don't sell much of them
because of those reasons.
I just think that there's very limited functionality on it, quite honestly.
I mean, I still love the Halo, really. I like it a lot. There's just something to it, but it's not a rational thing at all. Like, no. Rationally, you're far better off buying 2 Beo remote ones. You get
unless if you have a BLI, then it's you can make some sexy macro buttons and shit inside the Halo, which is cool. But I'm quite interested because obviously here I need to just buck up and do it and get the Wi-Fi to network adapter and get my gateway out of the storage and plug it in here and see what I can do. And also if there is a possibility to rename the control and light commands, because control is window 1, curtain 1, on, off, shade. And I don't know if I'm able to rename that. If I go to, where do I go to? I don't even know where you could, no, you can't really rename this stuff.
Yeah,
interesting.
It's not the IR days anymore.
No, which sucks because there's advanced. If I go to products.
Maybe a silly question, but for almost everything, should B&O go with braided cables, power cables?
I think so.
Because this looks like there's almost no way you can hide a cable coming out of Beosound 2, right?
Beosound 2s should definitely. I was actually surprised and shocked that the Ferrari edition did not have a braided cable in it. They just have a regular run-of-the-mill, which for 7Gs, come on, Carlos, at least give me a fucking cable that is nice. Because yes, you're right, you won't be able to hide that cable no matter what unless you put it on a countertop that has a pre-drilled hole and you just sink it right through. Yeah. It'll always be seen. But to me, A9s, they do come with the braided cable. They should. All the portable products should come with the braided cable. Like the A5 has a braided USB-C cable. I like that. They should pick that game up on the Beosound level, which that product is now turning more or less into a Beosound Edge.
Yeah.
In a very big hurry.
Because I totally forgot about it, but I got the M3s out, right? And it seems like they can't make up their mind of what they're doing sometimes, because the M3s have color-matched power cables.
Yes.
I mean, they're not braided, but at least they're color-matched to whatever you plug it into.
Yes.
And it's kind of weird that then, like, more expensive thing just gets a plastic cable.
Yeah, that's tossed in there as the last thought. That's the last thing that goes in after the manuals, right? So yeah, I agree that they should step up the power cable game on those products, or anything for that matter. Like, yeah, I understand if you buy a freaking Beosound Explorer, you shouldn't really expect a braided cable. That's $100 on its own. But for things like these where you know that you will have that cable or wire exposed, yes. So I got braided cables for my 18s because they just look nicer and they're white.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, I have to replace all my cables, so I still have to like sort of figure out where I end up with all that.
mhm. But yeah, I think they should step up the cable game, especially in those limited edition products. They should definitely have, obviously that you're already paying the premium, you somewhat getting the premium feel of the limited edition, but I think that lack of detail in those little things like power cords is apparent. Maybe some people don't see it that way, but if you're around
Well, if
B&O
we're
long
going
enough,
full
like,
on
come on,
luxury,
right?
I mean, you're gonna unbox it, and just a braided cable feels so much nicer than that sort of plastic rubberized stuff.
That's
Like,
right.
I understand it doesn't really matter for like a harmony and or a theater unless it's in the middle of a room, because there's so much device to hide it.
Well, but then again, like for the harmony in theater, that's not even an option to have a braided cable. That you need a braided cable that is an extension cord or braided extension cord,
Yeah.
because you still have to run a sound center and the panel, or the theater and the panel as two, right? And
Yeah.
then maybe
Plus,
you
it's a
have an
dealer
Apple
install.
TV.
It's not really something the customer generally does.
That's right. But for something that is a cash and carry products like the A5, I don't have any comments on because they do have braided cables. But the Beosound 2, guys, you should have that revised, in my opinion, very, very quickly, because you're buying the Beosound 2 more or less as a premium sound system than just a living room speaker per se, as like the A9 would be, where it's not just the living room speaker, but it's a different presentation of a speaker system.
Yeah, especially now it's over €3,000. Like,
So
come on.
just saying.
I mean, a BSN 2 is what, €3,300 or something like that now?
Yeah. Yeah, it's not cheap. So, for that reason, I suggested they step up the game a little bit with with
Holy
those
shit.
details. I think that would what
One Beosound 2 is now almost the price of
double.
a pair of 17s at launch.
Yeah. But you know what though? I watched Steve's video on the BeoLab 8s, and he actually brought up a very valid point that comparatively to Lab 3s, for how much they sold and counting the inflation and how much our money doesn't mean shit anymore. Uh,
Yeah, that's the
I think
saddest
they
part
were.
of all, essentially.
Yeah, but I think he was only like $100 off. That the 8s were more expensive
Yeah.
compared to what the 3s were sold back in the yesteryears. Considering the inflation. But then how much more tech you have for that exact same money, also, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
same value of the money. Let's not perceive it as numbers, but the value. So yes, yeah, that Beosound 2 is sexy, but it's proper B&O. It's probably not plugged in. That's too good of a cable management for a wall like that, bro. Come on. I was bored at night, but it wasn't last night. So, yeah.
I should take a picture, or I'll take some pictures eventually of my place once it's a bit more done.
Hmm.
Because currently the countertop is a butcher block that is high gloss, what you call it, sort of epoxy or whatever you call it,
Hmm.
polyurethane, and then
Yeah.
it's green back wall with like a silver mirror. That's kind of funky, and then the BSM 2 next to it. It looks really funky.
Nice. Well, I'm waiting for it, man. It's been a while since you moved in there.
Me
Renos
too.
and all that
It's
shit.
everything has gone so much slower than I ever expected it to go.
When are you gonna do your studio? I guess that's the last that takes the place.
Yeah, because we have like guest bedroom and that sort of thing, and all of that stuff has to come out because all those floors still have to go, and
Oh, fudge.
so I mean the living room is pretty close to done, and the kitchen is essentially done. The only thing in the kitchen that I need are baseboards and a hood vent.
Mm.
I mean, so far,
That's not that much.
no. The thing I mostly hate about having to do the hood vent is having to be up in the attic and pull the pipe to the outside because it's
Mm.
so goddamn hot in the attic.
Seems Marley says the Halo should have a physical play pause button so that you would turn on music without finding. You know what? I kind of agree with that, and I think that it would be a very easy software workaround for that, as far as just tapping on that B&O logo, which is a light sensor,
Yes.
which if it gets momentarily covered by darkness, it should pause or play. That would be a very simple workaround for that. But you know what? That's again, we're now going into that complaint area of a tactile feedback territory, which more and more people that I come across that bought a theater that came from a Beo 4 despise the Beo Remote 1 because there is no tactile reference really. It should be backlit. Everybody complains about that. The remote should be backlit. And I understand that B&O is very hard headed about their designs and shit, but this is something that you guys should just, humbly accept the defeat of the populace and flip and backlight the Mark II remote.
Yeah, charge
It
an
should
extra
be backlit.
€100 for it. I'll pay it. It's fine.
You know what? I'm not to like boast or brag or shit, but if I can afford a fucking Beosound theater, I can afford a pack of double A's or triple A's. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I assure you of that I can afford. I can go to Home Depot because I don't have a Costco membership, so I'm not going to buy a pallet of these. But I can assure you that I can afford a 20 pack of triple A's that
You can
I
even
don't
get those
care
at
if they serve me
IKEA.
one. I wouldn't go to IKEA, some freaking meatball sauce leak into my fucking remote control. No, man. I'll buy Duracell proper batteries, and I don't mind. And you know what? Quite honestly, it's better for practicing people's or having the batteries die faster, because then they don't forget how to change the batteries in these bloody remotes. Because that's another thing that a lot of people have questions. Because
Since
that
everything,
bulky thing disappears. It's absolutely useless in the remote box. You give them to people and they lose it before you even leave the house of the install.
surely you can make a USB-C hole in the bottom for charging, since basically everything is USB-C. That's the weird thing, right? Like B&O has been on the USB-C game so much longer than just about anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Because even my BeoPlay burger, right? Like, how old is that? 4 or 5 years? That's already USB-C.
Yeah, the
The
A1
Mark
was
One.
USB-C. I think was the first one with the USB-C port.
I mean,
And
that's
after that,
pretty.
everything else had it.
Yeah. But even computers didn't really have it at that time.
No.
Like, my big ass expensive computer has one USB-C port and it's on the back. So it's fucking annoying to get to.
Yeah, but that's the difference, I think. Well, obviously, EU had made that change in their law, so that obviously helped. Even Apple accepting the fact
Yeah,
that.
okay, but that's only a law of the last year.
Yeah, well, Apple's thinking, or their point of view is that like we've made it perfect now for everybody in the Europe. They're not saying that we would basically push to the corner. But no, back to the remote. I think there should be. I don't know if the wireless charging would work because of the aluminum thickness. There may be an issue, but even if they made a cradle in collab with, let's say, STB brackets, which they already have a cradle for it, make one that is a little more robust and put two pogo connectors on the base of it and two brass connectors on the back of the remote with the magnet, so you can just sit it down and it charges. Or go fancy like Samsung and make the surrounding around the display a solar panel, so then it can recharge the internal battery.
Yeah.
But I think that
Or do a Beocom 2 kind of where you just put it in the dock upright.
yeah.
Like you can
No,
even use the small pins, right? Like the phones used to have.
it definitely needs the backlighting. That's a lot of people are having issues with that, and I just cannot understand why B&O is so bloody hard-headed about that. Like, I don't think it's such a like we're not asking you to build a fucking colony on Mars. Like I just want you to backlight the bloody remote, man.
I want to see what I'm pressing mostly,
Yeah.
because otherwise it's infuriating. Like, and I don't only use it in full on daylight.
And I've gotten used to it, but obviously my it's not even the limitation, but I press my button too, the YouTube turns on, and I just go up, down, left, right, volume up and down, right? But if I were to just consume regular television and I have to change channels by numbers, that would be quite frustrating.
Yeah.
Because I think I'm on 2, but I press 5. Now shit, the thing skipped, now I have to wait, blah blah blah, right? It's a mess.
You actually can
There's
cancel that by doing more than 3 twos in that case.
I've never been that lucky, because usually when you fire in a whole bunch, it just goes to like it takes the last 3 and that's it. Just switches.
Well, in Europe anyway, I've actually done this, right? Like where I fucked up, like because you're going like I'm probably on 2 or on 5. You press it and it's 2, and then you get that population of whatever starts with 2 that's potentially a channel, and then you go another one and another one and then 5, and then you're at the first 5 because it doesn't do over 1,000 channels.
So yeah, I just that's more or less a puck nonsense. But as long as you can see the numbers and it's backlit, like it just makes sense. Or even just put the numbers, make them out of phosphorus or something. Like there's got to be a solution for this.
Yeah, surely your room is not dark the whole day.
No, but it's just it really, I don't understand. Like if these cheap cheeseball plastic bullshit remotes that come with the set-top boxes that have rubber ass buttons, and those are backlit for grandma. Why can we not have that for $600 piece of very nicely honed aluminum? I don't know if there's not enough room in the board to put this in.
Make it thicker. I don't. Nobody cares about those few
Yeah.
millimeters. Yeah, only Torsten maybe, but none of your customers care.
Thorsten, I think, is so far out of the picture now, man. Like last thing I saw, he was designing fucking automatic locks for doors.
Oh, okay.
That's on his Facebook, yeah. So he's now, I forget what company was it. One of those locker, not the Schlage, but somebody else that he's made locks for now. So they're nice, very B&O-ish, of course. But yeah, I think that the time and the days and era of Thorsten Velour or David Lewis designers as it used to be, I think that's the thing of the past now. I think that his one of his last project, the Eclipse.
Yeah, I think so.
And I think that's when he's checked out, maybe the Horizon, but the Noto design definitely has the
have
design
Noto
potential.
Design make a remote then. I'm totally fine with that.
I would love that. It would probably correlate much nicer with the Beosound Theater too.
Yeah. I mean, have Noto Design remakes not the Beo Remote 1, but remake the Beo 4 in whatever they deem. Because they always, whatever they make something, they pull the whole back catalog up. So they probably will look even at the chocolate bar remote and stuff like that.
Or BeoLink 1000 and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Because I find with the Beo Remote 1, like a lot, especially people that come from the Beo 4, they have a very hard time understanding that you press TV, they press TV and then they look at the TV. I'm like, no, you have to look at the remote and then select what source you want, right? It's not that TV was TV, DTV was your Apple TV, and a DVD was a Blu-ray, and VMEM was your fucking VCR if you had one or whatever the hell. But it no longer is like that. Everything is just down to 2 buttons, and under those buttons there's sub menus.
I forget now. Has the theater been updated that if you press TV, automatically the TV will start, or do you still have to press go or the center button?
No, if I just press TV, we can observe that here. It automatically turns on. Because I have a YouTube.
I'm pretty sure in the beginning you had to press TV and then enter, right? Because
I don't remember. But now it just she fires up by a single press. Or single button press. The only time that I find that there's a catch-22 is if you have a puck controlled device. That's when I figured you need to press select in order to activate the puck on the theater. I haven't played with it recently, so I can't comment. But I know that in the beginning it was like that. If you just called up the, let's say, a cable box out of the default TV button source call, the puck wouldn't load for that particular button press. So you have to go TV and then OK, and then goes, oh yes, I'm HDMI A puck A, whatever. So yeah, that's about it, man. I don't know what else to tell you. I think they should definitely. I've been crying about it we've been crying for freaking table stand speakers for 4 years, or however long till the 17s came away or gone away, and they finally came out with the BeoLab 8. So the hope dies the last. So maybe they will come out with the Mark II BeoRemote 1, or call it BeoRemote 2 for all I care. Just make it something that has a bloody backlight on it. So yeah, I agree. I think it's time for new Beo4. Not even Beo4, but just backlight the bloody thing.
They even managed to backlight the Beo4 in the cinema, Beo4 Cinema.
Oh, dude, yeah, but that one definitely was a battery hog. Like, even if you didn't use it, but it doesn't matter because it's a cinema. Like, at the end of the day, you spend $80,000 on your cinema system. What's another $4 or $5 in batteries?
Yeah, but even so, like the Beo4, I think in having had one in like a decade, I think I changed the batteries maybe 2 or 3 times. Like you did it so irregularly that you almost forgot how to do it. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've had clients that used to come to the shop and like, my remote died. Is there batteries in it? Of course there's batteries in it. Like, how do you get into it? You pull the sliders. Oh shit, I could not get into it. Forgot. Yeah, you won't forget with the BeoRemote 1, especially with the theater, because you will be at that for at least every 4 or 5 months at the best.
Well, not with a Harmony.
No, Harmony's better.
With a Harmony, I went like 2 years on a set of batteries.
What's interesting to me that like I have an Essence remote paired to the theater, an Essence remote paired to the Emerge, and those two remotes retain connectivity at all times. Doesn't matter. I press my button 1 or play on the Essence in the Emerge, right away fires up. Press my button 1 on the theater one, it fires up right away. There's no lag like there is with the BeoRemote 1 sometimes when it disconnects, and I very seldomly use those. Well, I use the Essence remote in the shower quite a bit because that's the closest. Like I don't really touch the Emerge, and I don't want to get water on it, and it's too far out from the shower. So for that, yeah, Oh yeah, it's tough to live in a first world country with BNO, I guess. But yeah, the theater one, I very seldomly sometimes, and I go to bed, I turn on the radio, and I just lay, and I'm like, shit, it's too loud, but I'm turning the other way because the remote is on this side and Essence on this side, so I just turn it down, and it's immediate, bro. It's immediate. I know I have problems, but they're always good problems.
Like literally.
Oh. No, I just reached that way instead of turning over to reach that way.
I'm gonna see if that works on her. Whereas, like, we need more remotes because, like, sometimes I lay on my left and it's over on the right.
It is a good reason, guys, gentlemen. I allow you to use that with your spouse. It's a good reason until Willie told you to do that. Blame it on me. You have my email. I will take the blame. It's all good. Get yourself some more remotes. Then when at least you get to practice more, so you don't have to bitch about it that they're not backlit because you have muscle memory.
So, is it time for new remotes? Ditch the BR1. It's about a third again says no, and everybody else says yes, or just if you want to be this stubborn about the remote, just backlight it.
Yeah. 53% agree with the backlighting. That's over a half.
Yeah, I don't even care how you do it or with what you do it. Even new design, same design, don't really care. The backlight is more important.
We probably have some people from the BNO in there because it says there's a couple of them that say it's fine as it is. No, it's not fine as it is, man. That's the whole point why everybody's whining about it. So yeah, to the 12% of the 16 votes, so that's like what, two people from the
Hello,
Denmark.
Bino.
Bring it up on the table conference table on Monday that we should consider backlighting the remote control. I understand that Europe and the struggle with the electricity and the whole power consumption limitations and so on and so forth. But here in Canada and America, we don't care. We want backlighting.
God, everybody here is complaining about how expensive electricity is, and it's like 13 cents a kilowatt. And people are like, that's so expensive. And it's like a year ago, it was like over 80 euro cents a kilowatt where I lived.
That's insanity.
Which is like close to $1 at the time, US, right? Like the energy cost was compared to when I left, it's like 10 times lower.
So yeah, I would definitely put that on your Monday morning's meeting table and talk about backlighting the bloody remote, because it's enough, man. It's been
I
years.
know some
It's
of you
been
BNO people
11
live in
years.
darker or have darker paint on the room. Like, do you just bathe in light at night or something? Like
It's not realistic, man. Especially since they've implemented the OLED screens, because then those things go dark. Like when my G3 panel goes dark, it just goes to like the clock and the screensaver and the weather mode. You can't see shit, man.
Like, where are we?
You can't see anything. Like even when I had the eclipse and the goofy fireworks, the display,
Yeah.
right? That like the screensaver thing. But when you I paused the TV, I had everything off because I'm watching a movie, and all of a sudden the thing goes to a screen. So I'm like, Carlos, I can't move around my house
Yes.
because it's so dark. Like Avant, it was forgiving because there was so much light seepage still, considerably you could see, but not with the new panels, man. And I like there's dark scenes. You want to turn them down or up or whatever, like fudge. And especially for people that are coming from the BO4, because their volume is where the power is, and that still is a big, big mix-up. When you turn it up by turning it off, feels bad because it's usually right at the crescendo of a scene or whatever.
I must say though,
So,
as a slightly quick aside, I have a new appreciation for the Beo Remote 1 because of circumstances. And I've not been able to set up the theater yet, so I've had to use the LG remote for the last 5 days.
oh, pumpkin!
My God, is that a horrible remote?
I refuse. Honestly, I refuse to use that fucking thing ever. I bought a service remote when we set up LG TVs. I do not even touch it. I hate the remote that I have because it's so squishy and buttons and cheap, but I can't deal with that pointer thing. And it's always, it's not that my hands are shaky, but it's always somewhere else. And you have to aim it to the edge of the screen to kind of recenter it. Because sometimes, you're pointing that way and the remote's this way. And man,
Also,
no, I
I've been
don't like
using
it.
the internal speakers of the C2.
Oh, bro.
Good God, is it awful?
Yeah,
Like
that's.
there is some bass. There's somewhat high end, and then the mids are all like sort of like this, right? And it's like,
Oh, yeah.
where did the music go? It's like, oh
It's
no.
terrible. Are you using that AI Plus too on it for the sound?
I don't even know. Probably.
You should. It makes it so much better.
It's just all pretty awful.
Yeah.
It's yeah. So compared to the LG remote, the Beo Remote 1 is a godsend, but
No,
the
for me,
Beo 4 is
like
still better.
it's getting better with me, but still, like when I get like these Illico remotes or whatever, or Samsung TV panel or this and that Blu-ray and like shit that I come across, I always look at this like a monkey on a sharpened rock. because I just can't figure out where the buttons are. Like I've lived with this for so long, and before that was BeoLab, which was even longer. So it really is hard for me to just adopt to other remote controls. Like it's hard, man.
I would just love to have the Beo 4 button pattern back. Volume in the middle, the star above it, off to the right, lower.
Yeah, if they did the remote the way that it was, you know what, and you know, if you you don't want to make it in sync, do it the same way as this. Just give it a little more mass, because a lot of people do say, and especially men, like there's a lot of clients that we have that have bigger hands and shit, and it's really hard to push these buttons because then you're just mashing the buttons together. So
yeah,
and the backlighting would help, at least to prevent it. It's a sexy remote, don't get me wrong, but there is definitely, like every hot girl has their deficiencies.
This is one of these half-liter bottles, right? Like my hand is bigger than that.
So yeah, it's just like you hold in the remote.
These are like the E8s for me. So like, and I don't even have enormous hands. I have big hands, but not enormous. Like the Beo Remote 1 is so small, I actually have to shift it off it because my thumb can't, like if it's like laying like that, I can't make that bend.
You can't reach the volume keys.
Yeah, it's a thing, but I mean, you get used to it and you hold it differently. You more so hold it on your fingers like that than actually. But the Beo 4 is just better. It was thicker, but it wasn't so thick. Like it was still way thinner than the LG remote is today.
Mm-hmm.
But there was no reason to make it like a third of the size smaller, to me, anyway.
I understand that they wanted the sleek and the new era of the and obviously like to show off the craftsmanship, which is great, but they definitely had some sacrifices, and one of them is that they should have considered that even if they had to make it maybe 1 or 2 mils thicker and put the backlighting in there, I think that would have been a much better idea than. I
mean, the width of an Apple remote is fine, and an Apple remote is wider than a Beo 1 is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that width it's perfectly fine.
It's more elegant. I give you that, Matthew. Beo Remote 1 is more elegant than Beo 4, but I guess when it comes down to elegance versus ease of use and operation and day-to-day environment, I would still prefer going with the Beo 4. And that's one of the remotes that if I go to clients' homes, I grab it. I don't have to look at the fucking thing. I just know exactly what buttons are where, and that's it. It's much easier. Where with the Beo Remote 1, I don't have to look at it anymore, but it took 12 years to get there.
Well, the thing with the button spacing and everything in the Beo 4 was you didn't need to look at it.
No.
Like you could physically tell. Like even if you had, I don't know, I used to work construction, right? Like so I had like a lot of calluses. And even on a Beo 4, you could tell where everything was. You knew where you were. Like I had days where I was sick, right? And like you're under a blanket on the couch and you like the remote is here. And you could tell where you were just by counting. Like and the volume was a definite different button shape than all the rest, so you knew what button you were on. Like it was so defined, it was easy. But with the Beo 4, you go, like you have to look, which is just I'm still not quite used to that. It was better.
Yeah, it was. Well, we won't change the world, I don't think, but hopefully BNO listens at some point. They will sober up and backlight the bloody thing. I guess that's the conclusion of this podcast.
Because the stupidest thing is like sitting in the dark with your OLED and that you have your remote and you sort of have to go like towards the screen to figure out where you are on the bloody thing.
Well, if you think about it logically, it's the only thing that is not backlit, because every single product that they have in portfolio now, look at 28s. They have a backlit touch interface. Beosound Balance, backlit touch interface. Even though it's aluminum. BeoLab 8, it's glass, but it's backlit. Everything is backlit. Beosound Theater doesn't look like much till you walk up to it. Everything's backlit. The bloody Halo is backlit. Everything is backlit except the Beo Remote 1. So I think they should consider it very, very strongly and do some sort of a light dispersing module inside. I don't think you need that much. The LED technology gotten so small and minuscule nowadays that you don't need, like these big fucking diodes like we used to remember from the BO4 when you take it out and the board and diode is like,
No,
bah, right? Like,
those 5 mil diodes are
yeah,
blinding
it's like
now.
those BMW halo lights, for God's sakes. Like, you know what I mean? You don't need that anymore. So you just need something that is sleek and small and have a piece of film that disperses the light evenly through. And
Yeah, it can be
that's it.
quite faint, but faint is good enough. At least you have an idea.
I don't need to have, a 500 lumen flashlight beam underneath the bloody remote control. It's not that I'm going to be going looking in the cave with this shit. I just want something that I can see where my flipping back button is and just be backlit. That's all.
I think you could already. I mean, it maybe doesn't even need to be all the keys, right? But if you have the color keys over the star, that would make a massive difference because you have a reference point. If your volume and your page up and down was backlit and your off button. Because
Matt says agreed, but the Halo is the answer. Yes, Halo is the answer, but you also need to understand, and I would invite you to do that. Go browse Netflix with Halo, or go browse YouTube with Halo. When you're going up, down, 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 left, left, up, down, down, and back and stuff and whatnot, do it with the touchscreen. Let's talk about
pause
that.
anything with the Halo, it just mutes it.
So
well,
there you go.
actually, Matt has a harmony, so he's fine.
Yeah, but
I guess for you, actually, yes, the Halo is the answer because it works on there.
But not on a theater. Yeah, the pause just mutes. It's weird. So, but anyways, it is what it is.
I'm gonna call it for today. Thank you everybody for watching. Thank you for agreeing with us that it should be back.
Beo power.
Yeah. Good luck, Babaloa, with your Avant. I hope they can fix it, and I hope it's something simple. I mean, it would be nice if it was just a cable that came undone or something.
It's either the ribbon cable or the PIM modulates.
Yeah. And have a good week. I hope to have some progress by next Sunday, so I can show some pictures of, because it's remarkable. Like the whole kitchen is in a different room, and we're getting places, and we're nice. Almost at the point of being able to tune speakers again for a room, which would be kind of nice. So see you all next week. Have a good one. Like, subscribe, and all that. And bye, everybody.
Bye. Thanks for watching.
The wrong button.